Get going.
Well, this is certainly a unusual set of events here because I'm not meant to be here, but apparently now I am. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen across the world. Welcome aboard to WOR. This is Tier 1 in console. This is myself, Jota, alongside your other new usual commentators, alongside LCR Leopard. Good evening to yourself, sir. It's going to be an absolute blast. It was a bit of a blinder last weekend, wasn't it? Of course, it was round one, first round of the season, and last week ended up seeing a little bit of a mixed bag. Brando winning it.
Yes, indeed. Good evening, everyone. It's good to be back once again for tier number 1. And yes, it was Brando taking the victory last time out in a last lap epic. After a little bit of gamesmanship went on the last lap, no one really wanted to lead down that back straight. And the final lap, in the end, Brando got the job done. On that last lap, Cameron Downs coming home in second place, led the majority of that final stint. Gabor coming home in third as well. And yeah, cracking race last time out, great opening to the season. Obviously, as you might be able to tell in a minute, Brando's not actually here, so we will probably have a new championship leader come the end of this Grand Prix here in Texas. And obviously, it's going to be, for us two in the commentary box, quite chaotic to run through everything with, well, some last gaps, qualifying laps still to come, and packing in everything else that we need to. But yes, it's good to be here.
Yeah, it's an absolute blinder to be alongside you as well on this one as well. In this, I think the first time I'm actually leading a tier 1 commentating as well, so thank you very much for your patience. As you might hear, my microphone quality is not particularly superb, and that's because this computer has not been unpacked. It's been packed away for the last 9 months, and I've had to quickly rush it out to get here tonight, so apologies for any slight inconveniences that might appear on this one. But as you were just alluding to, Brando is the championship leader but not racing tonight. Cameron Dowds in second place, Cameron's dad in the chat. Let's go, son. Hey guys, nice to have you alongside us on this one here tonight. So what have we got coming up then? We have tier 1 and we've got qualifying 1 happening right now. We're a little bit late, as you can imagine, as a result of all of the mishmash of stuff that we had to deal with in order to get this stream live, but we are here, and as it stands so far, it is the man who finished in third place, Gabba, leading the way. His teammate Quantum in third at the moment. Joe Murphy, though, just a smidge behind, half a tenth between him and Gabba. Now, you may notice throughout this commentary, I may accidentally talk about the racing teams that they're affiliated with. Fundamentally, remember, I am part of the Legacy division, so it is going to be a very difficult habit to break out of. So, Leopard, you might have to pull me up on that one.
It's all good. All good. Just over 2 minutes remaining in this qualifying session. Joe Murphy, for those, well, a lot of us wouldn't have been able to watch, but Joe Murphy has had that 29.7. I mean, he said that was his banker time. Joe Murphy said no one was actually even in the 29s come the first, something after the first run. It was literally him. The next driver along was in the 1 minute 30, 1 minute 30 dead bracket. But so yeah, he's not been able to improve upon it, has Joe Murphy, and obviously, you know, we've got Quantum has broken into the 29s in the Alpine, obviously Gabor also seriously breaking into the 29s to take that pole position, provisional pole position from Joe Murphy as it stands, but we still have some last minute, last gaps, qualifying laps still to come, and plenty that can happen. Cameron Dowds down in P6, and that's actually his qualifying done, so Cameron Dowds, second in the championship, it'll be a best position of P6 for the runner-up last season in console tier 1, so it's going to have it all to do, and it's a common theme for Cameron Dowds to have it all to do, but something he bounces back from very well in the past. Let's see who's going to be the first to cross the line.
Ryan,
finish.
He's coming across the line right now. 130.058. He's got a little bit of time to find if he wants to get towards the front. Actually, has Ryan, the NLR driver, going through. They were already slipping into NLR already, going through the turn 1. Then a little bit of a lock up going through 1. Not too bad though as he goes through the right-hander. If you're thinking, oh, where's all the telemetry at the bottom? I'm not showing it you throughout this race because, of course, I want all of the ERS to be a secret. I don't want anyone to have any insider. Going through the right-hander, through the left-hander of the set of S's, and then at the top of the hill, the familiar corner. Oh, a bit of a lock up there, but really on the limit though is Ryan as he then goes down towards the main DRS straight, of course, around here. We are expecting a little bit of a mixed bag when it comes to strategy though, because I think the undercut is incredibly powerful, one of the most powerful circuits for the undercut, the circuit of the Americas here in Texas. DRS will be available at the Bing point right now, I believe. In fact, it was a little bit earlier on and didn't get the Bing though in my ears for some reason. Going through then down into the corner left hand, you want to cut this corner finally, electing not to do so from Ryan though on this lap.
Yeah, no, that'll lose him a little bit of time. I mean, certainly it's a 10th down the moment. That might be recoverable through this last sector. Briefly, as you mentioned, the undercut, it is hugely powerful. I was on tier 4 last night. Even, you know, I think it was a 2-lap undercut with a wing change, and still they came out side by side. That's how powerful it is. That's, you know, when you think how much of a wing change is worth, it's like 6 seconds in the space of 2 laps. That was a hard to medium strat that was being done there. So yes, undercut will be very powerful. In the meantime, NLR Ryan up towards line out of the final corner. What's it going to be for the Aston Martin? He manages to get an extra half a tenth or so to put himself onto the second row of the grid. Alpha Gully will slide just behind him. Where's he going to go? He finds a little bit more time to displace him. Tech Brutal, tier 2 champion from last season, heads to second row for the time being. Joe Murphy's invalidated his lap, so he's not going to be on pole position this time around. Last week's pole sitter. Who else is on a lap?
You've got Renz Thomason, who's just come across the line, gone third with a 29.8 on board with Quartz at the moment. The only driver yet to set a lap as well, so this is a do-or-die lap for the RB as he comes across the line right now. Goes fourth fastest, 29.851, exactly what Quartz was looking for on that occasion. Joe Murphy did not improve on that lap time, unfortunately invalidating on that occasion, as will Epic Vale, and will start at the back. Ryderdahl looking to improve if he can, though, losing the ever so slightly, not looking comfortable in the Ferrari, but goes 11th in this particular lap, so he will start right at the back, though, will Epic Vale. Unfortunately, his teammate Hazara, though, this is in Ryderdahl's teammate, coming across the final couple of corners now, chucks it through the left-hander as Gabba goes even faster with a 29.606, which is not bad at all through an 18-minute qualifying session. Going through Hazara, though, with the DRS wide open, he'll come across the line, and he will be 7th, as you rightfully point out, so he gets through no issue whatsoever, but yeah, a little bit of a mixed bag towards the front, but Gabba absolutely flying high, the person finishing third in the championship, and the Scotsman at the front.
Indeed he is. Great qualifying from the Scotsman to take pole position. He's got 10th and a half in his back pocket over the rest of the field. The questions will be asked. Does Joe Murphy have more in the tank? We'll have to find out come race day. Renz Thomason will be happy with third place, I reckon. He's amongst it, as is the likes of Quartz, Rain, Tech Brawl, Hazara, all within a shout of race victory, you'd say. But the DRS is so powerful, I think you can probably put anyone who gets a good start into that category, to be quite honest. But yeah, Gabor leads the way here in qualifying.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think we're going to be heading straight through into the race now, because it is a short qualifying session in tier 1. I think the biggest shock for me was actually Bell Belby, down in 19th place. He's ever the quick driver, actually, is Bell Belby, but down in 19th place for the Aversio Racing team. Oh, here we are, slipping back into Legacy
He's
Division.
done it again.
He's done it again. Put a counter. Someone get in this video, put a counter on every time I slip into Legacy Division mode, guys. I apologise for that one. Yeah, Bell Belby, though, down in 19th. A bit of a shock, actually, for him. Justin in 16th, Tom Roberts in 15th place, though, and Cameron Dowds, again, a little bit out of position as well, but we know what Cameron Dowds is like. He's a flying driver who really does sink his teeth into a challenge, and I wouldn't expect a 12th place start for him to be where he finishes. He will climb the rankings.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah, for sure. Provided he doesn't get into any sort of trouble and doesn't get bailed out by a safety car in the process. Yeah, Cameron Dowds is definitely going to climb the field, as I believe we'll have a lobby restart.
Yeah,
it's usually the case on this game.
We will have a lobby restart, as everyone is just jumping the starts right now. As you can see all of that one, so that's no surprise on that one. But yeah, everyone will be retiring.
That's the fastest lap.
Yeah, there we are. Let's see, a fastest lap from Owen, a 280-minute lap time, which is an absolute blinder. But Owen started on pole position, despite the fact that he didn't actually set a lap, I don't believe, as well. Or at least he must have been towards the midfield, because I missed him. So yeah, it needs a lobby restart anyway. We always do that usually anyway, obviously, because of the block. We don't want people to be blocked in qualifying, and I think there's a lot of issues surrounding all of the slipstream and all that, so the ghosting's all turned on, so we've got to turn that off, and we'll get going for this one, which gives us actually a very ample opportunity to look at last week's results again, actually, because again, obviously, I've been brought in very last second, so I've only had a very skim read of what happened last week, and it was a real mixed bag. Ryderdahl got a 3-second penalty, if I'm not mistaken, so he ended up falling from 6th down to 10th. So he's going to want to push back after that sort of incident. and make his way forward again, because he's better than 10th and he knows it.
Yes, for sure. For sure. Yeah, I'm trying to remember what happened last week. I mean, it was complete chaos in the final lap. There was a lot of games being played, playing, as I mentioned earlier, no one wanting to lead and very, desperate stuff in trying to do so. In fact, I think I might remember why Ryder has the penalty, and that might have something to do with the fact, and I believe it was Gabor actually. For those I remember, pulled off a miraculous save down the pit straight. I believe it might be. I could be completely wrong here. My memory could be completely let me down, but I believe it was Gabor and Ryderdal. Gabor obviously with the DRS open, and Ryderdal just moved a bit late, completely caught Gabor off, and obviously having to correct the car with DRS open. I think you can kind of get the picture of what should have happened. Miraculously, it didn't. It was kind of almost a perfect 360 that Gabor managed to pull off, and as a result, still ended up in P3. It's one, honestly, I think I was saying to Gareth afterwards, probably already saved the season that was made. Just in that, it's happened on round 1. So, yeah, if I'm not mistaken, that's where the 3 seconds came from. But there was a lot to unpack from that Chinese Grand Prix last week. Obviously, I think we started in wet conditions as well. Yeah. So we've already had a bit of wet weather this season here in Console Tier 1, which is good to see. Because at times you can just get a season where it's just like, oh, it's just all dry. So good to see a bit of weather early on. And obviously we might even get that here in Texas. Be surprised, but not out of the realms of possibility.
Yeah, it would be a mild surprise if we do end up getting that. And to be fair, I would absolutely love that, to say the least, as well as actually we've got a little bit of background footage potentially just to hover in the background as well after what was a really, really intense Grand Prix in the end, at China. Obviously, look how exactly compact it was in the end between the likes of Brando, Cameron Dowds and Gabba. They were all really, really pushing the absolute limits, but in the end, as you see there, Brando coming across the line to take the race victory, and he, is happy and smiling from ear to ear as Radadol obviously finished in 6th. He ended up sinking all the way down to 10th. That promoted Quartz up to 9th, and the rest of the field, of course, up 1. But so many DNFs in that race as well. A lot of drivers as well. I think we ended up with, was it 7 DNFs in the end?
Yeah, it's obviously only 13 finishing. A lot went on. A lot of people, got caught out in the wet weather. Some people, it was tipping it down to start with. You could barely see a thing. It was almost like Interlagos last week with everyone on the Inters, but you can barely see a thing. A couple were on the full wets, and in the end that was a mistake as it just dried out a little bit too quickly. And in the end, you could just tell the wets were, lacking the necessary grip as they were just overheating.
Yeah.
Just too much tread for the conditions, and a couple in the end pulled the plug on it and decided, enough's enough. And unfortunately, yeah, that's how it went for some of the drivers. Obviously, a lot would have gone caught out in those intermediates. Obviously, there had been collisions and so forth, and we had a safety car late on as well, which almost came out perfectly for those to switch on to the slick tyres to almost make it a 10-lap sprint. So yeah, as mentioned, it was a chaotic Chinese Grand Prix, and I'm not expecting any different here in Texas.
Well, no, I mean, Tier 1 always brings sort of the finest, but also can occasionally bring out the worst in some of the drivers, of course, as they try to strive for the best WR driver in the world. So that is something that I think we're seeing in many other things, such as Legacy Division as well. So it's fun nonetheless as well. Big shout out to James Head, by the way, who was my co-com in that one as well. Absolutely love that, doing that on a Tuesday night. Right, we're going to take a break as we just get ourselves ready for the stream. We are going to be disappearing, and we're going to cut to some ads, and we're back very shortly. So stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few moments. Don't go away. Good evening then, ladies and gentlemen across the world. Welcome aboard to WOR. This is, nearly said it, the Tier 1 console league, and we are in for an absolute blinder. It is myself, Joshua, alongside Leopard tonight. Your not usual commentating lineup, but nonetheless a really exciting race ahead of us. It is raining in Texas. Leopard, that should make a little bit of a mixed bag for certain.
Yes, definitely. Obviously, the weather is the great equaliser within motorsport. It's yeah, it just levels the playing field, doesn't it? You know, those that, you know, maybe not so confident will have a chance of glory.
Here we go.
Here you go. Take
With
this away, Justin.
5 lights, and it's 5 lights, and away they go. The drivers, here they are. And then coming down that inside line immediately, BRT Joe Murphy immediately trying to put the pressure on Gabba, who swings down to the inside line to try and defend from it. But a little bit of a tag slapper from Gabba has opened the door directly for the fake Venezuelan, who will go around the outside of turn 2. And that kick Sauber is now leading the race. Rens Tollefson also looking to try and improve as well, as he gets in a mix as well. He stays in 3rd place at the moment, though, with Quartz staying in 4th, Rayan in 5th. Owens made 2 positions up from 9th to 7th. Hazara's had a disastrous start. He's down 2 positions, also down to 9th.
Yeah, indeed, Joe Murphy got the launch, got the whole shot off the line, got the inside line, and it was job done. He had the grip round the outside of 2, and he's into the lead of the United States Grand Prix here in Texas. What's going on further back? We have a battle. Looks like it's Tech Brawl and Eon going side by side. The battle for P6. They try and get the power, and it's so tricky on the exit. There's so little grip out there as we charge down the back straight here on lap 1 of 28. It's Cabal looking for the move back. Indeed he is, up the inside into turn 12. He's pulling all sorts of shapes under braking. Has he got the job done? He moves Joe Murphy onto the curb, and Gabor leads the way once again here in Kota. Rens Thomason is looking to try and get involved in P number 3. Can he switch it to the inside last minute?
He's
Yes, he will. Up the inside goes the Haas. There's a bit of contact, and Joe Murphy was leading the way, and he's got a bit beaten up in sector 2. He's still trying to force it to fit through the long right, but he can't make it work. And just like that, Gabor leads the way. The Haas of Rens Thomason's up to 2nd, and Joe Murphy's down to 3rd. Goodness me, it's a cracking opener here in Texas, and Gabor is going to lead it at the end of lap 1, Jota.
Yeah, shall we fancy doing this another 26 times, Leopard? Because it's going to be an absolute blinder if that first lap's got anything to go by. We've already got people in the pits. Oh, Bell be immediately in the pit lane already. What a shame. Oh, here comes Joe Murphy down the inside line going into turn 1. He wants to get that move done. Collides ever so slightly with Rens Thomason. He's off the curb, and he will have to concede that position shortly off the curb. It's going to be so wet, so damp on the intermediate, and that will be done and dusted with BRT's Joe Murphy, and now everyone back in the position that they started in after all of that one. Owen up into 6th place, up 3 positions. He's got a bit of confidence actually in that Haas Ferrari at the moment.
Yeah,
going through the left-hander, he's feeling a bit more confident, and actually might be putting Ray under a little bit of pressure on down the main straight. I wonder. He's feeling confident. He's not using that much ERS either. So is this potentially a little bit of a dark horse?
Potentially so. We said it. One of those drivers in the midfield. Oh, there you go. Here goes Ray up to the inside of Quartz. Into turn 11. On the RB goes the Red Bull. And he's got the job done. He's up to P4. That's going to open the door for Owen to potentially make a move down the pit straight. Not the pit straight, down the back straight even. Into turn 12. Is he close enough? I don't think so. It's going to be an absolute kamikaze lunge if he tries it from back there. Thankfully, for everyone's sake, he doesn't. And he slots in into P6. Anything going further on behind, we have Justin and Cameron Downs and Tom Roberts. Justin, the meat in a Mercedes sandwich by the looks of things, is the other kick Sauber. Cameron Downs, he hasn't actually got the start. You'd have thought he would have in these wet conditions as Cameron Downs. You'd have thought he'd maybe make up a few positions. Would the runner-up from the past 2 seasons. He's only gained the 1. I'm sure he'll be looking to gain a bit more, but at least it's not in the fence, I suppose. That's one of the positives, I guess you can say from that.
Yeah, and actually, I'd argue Cameron Downs under a little bit of pressure from an upcoming driver, and BRT's Justin, actually, here we go again, Kick Sauber's Justin, who's trying his hardest to actually hold on with Joe Murphy. This is a companionship that we see, actually, in the Legacy division, to be fair, in the same cars, actually, as there's the optimal strategy, is going to be the one-stop tonight with the intermediate tyre, but this is assuming that we continue to have these wet conditions, of course. It's Joe Murphy, he's going for Justin, going for the lunge, he was going to collide ever so slightly, going down the inside line. Cameron Downs is going to hold it, they're going to go side by side through the next corner onto the curb though. May lose the rear ever so slightly, but he's got it covered as Cameron Downs. Surely he's going to have to concede well Justin on this occasion. He certainly does. Maybe a couple of switchback opportunities he's going to look for again. No, he's going to hover around the outside. That could be a move, but no, it's not there just yet. So yeah, Justin absolutely is putting Cameron Downs under the pressure, but to me, not really that much front end at the moment on Cameron Downs' car. Is he prioritising perhaps somewhere later in the race? Are we going to have a more dry spell? I would argue the rain is maybe a little bit lighter. We'll have to see. Is Justin going to go for it? He will go for it down the inside line once again. On this occasion, the Cameron Downs though again will hold it off. He's defending like a lion at the moment, is that Mercedes, but on this occasion, they're going to continue to go side by side as they go down the back straight. Will they continue on this occasion? Lower downforce available on that Mercedes, which explains a lot of things. Here, is he going to go for the dive? Once again, he certainly will. The other Mercedes also trying to get in this one as well. And excellently crafted from Justin as Cameron Downs will try and defend it down the inside line. Will he have the grip? Will he have the turn in the front end speed? They're still side by side at the moment. Are these drivers getting into a collision through here? Surely this move is now done and dusted. Oh, they're going to continue. They're still going to continue being side on side. Are these drivers here? And then eventually Justin finally gets the move done. Here comes Tom Roberts, maybe around the outside, but he's not going to put his teammate under too much pressure. But Alpha Gully may try to in the Williams.
Oh my goodness me, that was incredible through the middle sector, just side by side. And it just leads into that, doesn't it, the middle sector? It leads into just constant side by side action, switchbacks, the lot. Meanwhile, by the way, whilst all that was happening, Joe Murphy is back into leading this Grand Prix. He put Gabor under pressure into turn 12. Gabor outbroke himself, overshot the corner. Joe Murphy said, thank you very much. I'll take the lead of this race, thank you. And Joe Murphy is back into the lead of the United States Grand Prix. Gabor in second, Rens Thomason in third place. Here on lap 4 of 28. It's all kicking off here in Console Tier 1. Battles left and right, up and down through the field. And just who knows what's going to happen next.
I'm just keeping an eye on Rens Thomason. Rens Thomason really losing the rear ever so slightly up at the top there, and he's obviously trying to keep Gabber under pressure at the moment. These front three, especially Ryan, actually, now I'm saying that as well, so there's a bit of a front four starting to develop now between them. And of course, the DRS is still available for those that have it within 1 second, but at the moment, no one has it because, of course, it's still raining out on circuit. So if you want to keep sort of margin, you want to make sure you stay within that second anyway, because at least it keeps you within a sort of toe distance here. Ryan just able to get a bit closer as Rens Thomason losing the rear ever so slightly. A bit of a rear lock-up. Oh, again, trying to chuck the car through the right-hander. He's got the front-end grip, actually, has Rens Thomason, and I think it's catching him out a little bit on the rear because, of course, that snap as the car will just turn in, and then you've got no grip underneath with it being so wet is causing, so all cause of issues here as Hazara and Justin getting into a little bit of a scrap here. Justin now up to 10th and up 6 positions. He's having a blinder of a race so far, actually, is the Sauber, and looking fairly sharp as he tries to close down the gap on the the Alpine of Quantum.
There you go.
Oh, get there in the end.
Yeah, got there in the end, didn't you, Josser? But yeah, Justin up, as he mentioned, 6 places off the start. He's got a bit of confidence in that kick Sauber. There you go, fastest lap of the Grand Prix, 1 minute 45.452 for the kick Sauber. Fastest man on track is BRT Justin. He's got a bit of clean air to drive into now, does the kick Sauber. We'll see what kind of pace and how quickly he can reel in the Alpine of Quantum out in front, and he can latch onto this kind of leading 9 train we have at the moment. It's a little bit spread out here and there, but it's as good as a 9-way battle for the lead. And yeah, it seems to have settled down a little bit, hasn't it? Cameron Downs tucked up in behind the Ferrari of Hazara. They'll hopefully be hoping that Justin can maybe drag him along. Obviously, they won't have DRS or anything, but he'll still be laying down a marker for them, something to go and chase. And hopefully, as a result, they may be able to follow along and try and reel in the gap alongside Justin. Here comes Cameron Downs on the inside of Hazara into turn 11. Hazara should get the drive on next. Indeed, he was. Cameron Downs, maybe not quite as forceful as he'd have liked to have been, and that may leave him vulnerable to his teammate Tom Roberts.
Yes.
Not enough. Tom Roberts backs off on the ERS. Here comes Cameron Downs. ERS activated. No. Hazara covers the inside line into 12. He's going to try around the outside, but nothing doing.
Yeah, he's using overtake a lot at the moment. His Cameron Downs and actually harvesting much more energy than everyone else around him, which is not necessarily a bad thing. If you're not powering yourself around the circuit, you've got less likely, potentially more chance of grip. Is he going to go down the inside line potentially on Hazara? He certainly is here on this one as well. Hazara's teammate at the moment, Radadol, set the fastest first sector of anyone so far, so he's beginning a little bit of a push, perhaps seeing the capability maybe of Justin at the moment, but Cameron Downs is losing the rear ever so slightly. He's not finding comfort out there at the moment as well. So driver we know is a driver who is capable of adjusting to sort of different track conditions very quickly, but at the moment he's suffering out there. I'm wondering if it's potentially burning up his tyres a little bit as well, because he's just sliding across the circuit. More purple sectors being set with Rens Thomason now getting the fastest lap of this race. This track is now drying up and the rain is certainly lighting up here, and I think that we may end up heading into a dry spell imminently here, which will be falling perhaps around about the time that they need to change off the intermediate tyres anyway. So we'll see what happens. Oh, look at Azara losing the rear ever so, they just can't find comfort in the car through the first sector, and Cameron Downs is all over the gearbox of that Ferrari, going through the right-hander, then the left-hander through the top of the hill, and Cameron Downs is already setting up the move.
There we go.
Potentially, as he's going to go side by side here. No DRS available, of course, but the move is already going to be done, and Azara is going to have to surely concede this position around the outside line. This is not going to hold around here, and Cameron Downs takes the position. He'll get the toe, but will he have the traction down here, down the straight? He's had a little bit of a weave as he tried to break the toe, and Tom Roberts will also get the move done as he gets the toe off his teammate. Here comes Alpha Gully, as well as the ever so slippy Williams will get the move done. That one, is all done and dusted. Hazara, who was really battling for 11th, is now potentially struggling to hold on to P13 here as the move is surely done and dusted. He's going to continue around side by side. No, he's down 3 positions in as many corners. Goes for the move down the inside. That's what Ellis Martler collides with the Mercedes in trying to do so. It was a bit clumsy, and surely that position is going to have to yield. He's lost 3 positions in as many corners. He's got frustrated, and he's ended up in a collision. No damage done, but he's now down another position, down to 15th.
Yeah, Ryan's got the move done as well. Yeah, just suckers you in a little bit. A lot of this corner to do here in Texas. Well. Epic Vales up the inside as well. He's going to move Hazara onto the curb and say thank you very much. It really has been a bad lap for the Ferrari of Hazara. And yeah, it just suckers you in sometimes, doesn't it, that corner? Needs to brake a little bit later than you maybe thought you were, and you can just catch a car ahead if you're not careful. But yeah, not a great couple of corners if you're Hazara. Cameron Downs has finally dispatched the Ferrari, and now he's going to try and set off to the kickstarter of Justin.
Yeah, Justin though flying at the moment, trying to get back within the 1 second gap of Quantum. He was around about 1.6 when he managed to get the move done on Cameron Downs, so he is finding time, maybe 2 or 3 tenths every lap at the moment on Quantum. So surely be entering into the DRS sort of territory fairly soon, which will be critical because the rain is really light, if actually now has stopped. Yeah. So that will surely bring the DRS now into an activation point, and the track is drying quite quickly as well. Off track, it's still quite wet, but the dry line is very prominent, so I'm expecting surely DRS enabled within the next few laps. Rear lock up from Rayan going through the end of the back straight. So obviously these tyres are really starting to feel a bit awful. I'm wondering if we're going to see a dash of people into the pits here, because these tyres do not look comfortable. There's no spray being kicked up at all here. I wonder if someone's going to make the call.
Potentially, I'd say maybe a little bit too early. Give it maybe another lap, but then definitely. Still maybe a bit too much just offline. A little bit, you know, if you go offline, it's just too much of a risk, I'd say, if you get offline. Rens Thompson, he's got good run on Gabor here. He's going to think about a lunge into final corner. No, thinks better of it. As this race just settles down a little bit, and yeah, we might just be waiting on a set of pit stops before, and it depends what tyre, we'll see. Could we see mediums? Could we see hards? It depends how long it takes to properly dry up before they make the call. Cameron Downs, fast lap of the race. I think he's getting a hang of these conditions.
Yeah, if let's say that the dry tyres are possible here, surely people will be nailing on a set of hards, because they can almost certainly not be able to use a set of mediums here in this one, because that would be I think almost sort of racing. Well, the racing would not just be basically possible towards the end of the race if you try and take them to the end. That's for certain. Anyway, going through the left-hander, Rens Thomason at the moment trying to hold on to the back of Gabba. Gabba not having the best first sector here, actually losing the rear ever so slightly. So Rens Thomason now putting pressure on the NVR man Gabba as he tries to go through into the next corner again. Just is not looking confident out there, is the Alpine, not able to put the power down, and the gap now around about 0.6 of a second, enough to be a suitable toe, but you can certainly say that Joe Murphy's had the better lap, and Gabba may end up starting to feel the wrath of Rens.
Potentially, although he's gained a lot down that back straight, has Gabor, so I think he's he might have a little bit in the tank, who knows, but it's a lot drier than it was last lap, that's for certain. I wouldn't be surprised if we do see people in here at the end of lap 8. It might, who knows, it's crossover period, isn't it? It's that classic crossover period. where it's just it's so tricky because these tires will be heating up constantly. They'll be screaming, but it's still also maybe just a little bit too wet to commit to slick tires at this moment in time. We'll see. Is anyone going to come into the pits at the end of lap 8? Is Joe Murphy into the pit lane? No, stays out. Gabor stays out. Rens Thomason stays out. Of course, we haven't seen the good old DRS indicator yet. That's usually the indication. Once DRS gets enabled, that's when you usually see everyone flock into the pits like crazy. And we haven't seen that just yet. But yeah, look at that. These times are tumbling.
Yeah.
44 dead from Tom Roberts in the Mercedes. It was a 44.5 last time around for the Mercedes. So yeah, they are taking tenths off their times lap by lap here in Kota.
Yeah, I think the critical thing is, remember, is that, of course, if you're used to your Formula 1, you may remember a certain Turkish Grand Prix where, you know, the track conditions were greasy, but suitable for the bold intermediate tyre, but not suitable for dries. So you got the tread around the outside, but the inside tread was sort of bold enough that it became effectively a slick in the middle. So, you know, this is what we'd like to see in the game as well, but I'm not sure if the mechanics of that are actually built into this particular game cycle. So, you know, effectively, if the dry tyre is the better tyre to be on, then they really should be switching, because I don't think the Inter's going to be there. Gabba really gaining pace, actually, down the straight on Joe Murphy. So obviously the lower downforce setup, we may see Gabba really fly, actually, as this dry spell comes into play. Rens Thomason trying to get close as well, losing the rear ever so slightly, does the Alpine, but the Haas able to just hold on to the back. So clearly a more lower downforce setup, I think, for the man in second place. So Joe Murphy is going to have a little bit of a scrap on, I suspect, when this race finally gets into its dry spell, which I think should be imminent.
Yeah, it looks it, doesn't it? Gabor slightly losing the rear, having to correct the car to fight the car. The rear is spinning left and right. Are we going to see anyone in at the end of this lap? No, it's still a little bit too wet, say the drivers, at this moment in time. And so are we seeing gaps slightly forming? Rain to quartz is up at 8/10 or so it's gaining a little bit. Of course, they do still want to try and be inside that 1 second, especially at this stage of the wet period. Joe Murphy a little wide through turn number 1, so they're struggling ever so slightly, maybe more than ever so slightly. It is
it's time for dries
so
now.
tricky out there.
It's time for dries now, surely, Leopard. Look at that. I mean, the circuit is really drying up even outside of the dry lines now, so the track really starting to evaporate as the temperature rises on circuit, surely above 40 degrees Celsius at the moment as well out there. So it's got to be time, surely, for dries, as they're now sliding all over the shop. I'm expecting the call imminently from the virtual race control to say the DRS is enabled and we should be getting going here a little bit earlier than the anticipation, as we've got our first 3-second penalty as a result of track limits violations. It goes to Quartz in P5. Now, he's been losing a bucket of time, actually, versus the front 4 at the moment, so clearly struggling out there and actually beginning his own little tove with Owen Ryderdal and Tech, his teammate, in 8th. So surely we're expecting imminently the DRS to be enabled and the dry tyres to be out, because this circuit is really drying up here.
Quantum up the inside of Tech Brawl into turn number 12. Quantum on last season's Tier 2 champion. He moves him onto the curb. Can he get the job done? No, Tech Brawl's got the drive on exit. He's going to be back up the inside into 13. And who's going to get the job done through this double left-hand section into 14 and 15? We've got to move further up as well. It's Owen up the inside of Quartz by the looks of it. Yeah, it is Quartz. He tried to move. Couldn't quite make it work. Quartz holds on to P5 and Quantum on the other arm. He has got the move done and is up to P8. So good move from Quantum to go up into P8. Are we going to see anyone hit? No, they were not. They stay out once again.
If I were Justin, I was going to say, if I were Justin, I'd be diving in now, and he's doing exactly that, as is Quartz, actually. So we've got a few people who are now electing to call it here, and I think Justin, 10-second penalty for Justin speeding in the pit lane. You know what, I was about to say, he's did the right thing there. He's on a bit of a push, and he really is the fastest driver out there. He might as well take the gamble. Why not? And he's only gone and got himself a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Set of medium tyres going on the Sauber, and he will come out obviously behind Quartz. They think they could take the mediums to the end, Leopard. I'm not so sure.
2 Williams go side by side. 2 title contenders from Tier 2 last season. Alpha Gully and Epic Vale doing battle, and Alpha Gully comes out on top. He's under pressure from his teammate Epic Vale. They were actually, last season, it was Alpha Gully who was the teammate of Tech Brawl in the Kick Sauber in Tier 2 last season. He did quite a few. He's got round!
He's got round!
Yeah, the Williams has gone. He's planted the pound too much. The rear end of that Williams does not agree with the input, and Alpha Gully is round on the exit of turn number 9. Epic Vale's up to P12. Ryderdal's made the move on Owen down the back straight into turn number 12. Gabor's tugged it by Joe Murphy. It's all kicking off here in the transition phase, if you will. As the drivers are just struggling for grip, and it's where the best drivers will find the grip. Oh, there we go. There goes Rydell. He's got a massive kick of overseas. Has he got another one? Just about keeps the car facing the right direction. Surely it's
you wouldn't believe me. You won't believe me when I say this at the moment. Quartz is losing buckets of time out there at the moment on the hards. He was 8 seconds down on everyone else, and now he's over 11 seconds down. So actually, the intermediate tyre is still the right tyre to be on. So those that have decided to make the call, and I would have done as well, to be fair, has made a critical mistake. Look at the cars at the moment on the dry tyre. They've got no grip out on circuit at the moment. So Quartz now 14 seconds down. Justin and Belby doing everything they can to try and hold on for dear life, but they can't switch back to an intermediate now. There's no point. So they've got to keep going. And look at the amount of time that they're losing at the moment. So everyone has to stay on that intermediate tyre, which is not really the best tyre to be on. It might be the fastest, but it's not the ideal tyre either. They need that moderate tyre between an intermediate and a slick tyre. We'll call it mild. Well, let's call it mildly damp.
Yeah, Rens Thomason tucked right behind Gabor. I thought he was thinking about moving into turn 11. Thinks Barovi hits the back end of him for good measure, or taps the back end of him, more should I say. And yeah, they're still single file. Is Gabor thinking about a move into turn number 12? No, turns off the overtake, switches to hot lap. Joe Murphy will stay in overtake a bit longer to fend off any sort of challenge from the Alpine behind. And yeah, there is a little bit of a gap. The front four have got their own little battle between them. Rydell's losing touch between the top three actually a little bit, and sorry, not Rydell, Rain, and then it's Rydell in the prancing horse. Quantum and Owen still line astern. There's a little bit of gaps between them. Owen pulling all sorts of shapes into turn 50. There's just very little grip. Cameron Downs has joined the party as well, by the way. The two Mercedes have rocked up to the back of this little fight, and they're just going to be almost practically drifting through turn 16, 17, and 18 past Hayden Hill. And Owen again, oh my goodness me, they're sideways. They're completely sideways. There's no grip, and Cameron Downs has bitten the bullet. Cameron Downs says, enough is enough. I want slick tyres. Quantum sets the fast lap of the Grand Prix, and it again looks even drier here than it did a couple laps ago. Lap 13 and 28.
Oh, wow.
And surely you are thinking mediums at this point. Cameron Downs disagrees. Hard tyres for the Mercedes.
Yeah, here comes Justin as well. Look at him. He's basically drifting. He's Tokyo drifting around the corners at the moment. Or the dry tyre compounds. I just don't think it is time for dry tyres. But I think that's just purely not because the track's dry enough. I think the track is dry enough. The problem is the track temperature, perhaps. It's like an ice rink out there. So the tyres, the dry tyres, can't warm up fast enough. As they're going down the straight, the temperatures are just plummeting. Meanwhile, those on the intermediate tyres are obviously overheating their tyres, but because the track's so cold, it cools them down enough. So neither tyre is really the better tyre to be on. But to be honest with you, neither tyre is really good tyre to be on, but the intermediate tyre is certainly the best tyre to be on. He's drifting the car and losing the rear, losing the rear. Oh, Gabba going for it here as well, actually. Looking for the move then. Is he going to get it done? No. Looking at Justin at the moment. He's actually drifting the car through the set of S's at the moment on that medium tyre. And he's losing the rear, like Joe Murphy has just exactly done, losing the rear, and they'll go side by side through this set corner. So the last thing you need to do is to be racing too hard around here when you've got no grip at all beneath you. The mechanical grip is completely gone around here. We're not even halfway through this race at the moment. We've still got plenty of laps to go, and they're going to be perilous, to say the least.
Oh my goodness me. Yeah, Joe Murphy's got absolutely no grip. Cabour's maybe just got a little bit more confidence as he in sector 3. Who's round?
Oh, puncture! Like we've got a puncture on the rear left puncture for NLR's Epic Veil. So I'm not sure if he's got a puncture as a result of damage. Someone's collided into him. Oh, he's gone for a spin as well. Owen, 10-second penalty. Everyone is diving into the pit lane now. They think that's the better tyre to be on. But Cameron Dowds will be the first person to say, I'm not so sure, guys. I'm about 13 seconds back. I was about 5 seconds back when I came into the pits, as people are coming in for new sets of intermediate tyres.
Oh my goodness, it's a mixed bag, isn't it? Joe Murphy's gone for intermediates. Gabor, Rens Thomason, Rydell, all opting for the slicks. Rain opting for the mediums. Tegra wants a set of intermediates. It's certainly not the popular choice, but it's certainly a choice. Cameron Downs.
DRS enabled!
There's the goal. Just the fastest lap of the Grand Prix on the semi-medium tyre. So they finally have come to life. Has the slick tyre. So Joe Murphy Tech Brawl have made an absolute clanger of a decision to put the intermediates back on. And goodness me, what is that going to mean if you're Tom Roberts, if you're Alpha Gully, if you're Alessi? Are you going to be gaining time? Is this an absolutely genius overcut incoming? Joe Murphy breezes past its Rappy for P number 4. He'll put a bit of daylight between himself and Gabor, but it's not going to matter. He's got to come back in, if not this lap, certainly the next lap or two, once it quite easily becomes slick tyre territory.
Joe Murphy will try his hardest to stay out as long as he can and try and defend from the attacking moves. So the saving grace here is the transition period between the wets and the dries from NVR Gabo so much later on the brakes versus those on the intermediate tyre at the moment. This is the saving grace though. Is the transition period still quite slow because they are losing the rear of us so slightly as they've got someone off, and that is puncture for who? I believe it's one of the Mercedes. It's Tom Roberts. It is Tom Roberts. So the old intermediate tyres are now really starting to shred. Rappy is also going to be struggling as well a little bit out there as well. Keep an eye out. Oh, Gabo loses the rear ever so slightly. Very well held. Going through that final corner. Everyone pitting. Joe Murphy, no surprises. He's staying out.
Goodness me, what an absolute barnstormer we're being served here in Kota. Joe Murphy. Yeah, on the intermediate tyres, he has a 2-second advantage. Rens Thomason's up the inside of Gabor into turn 1. So Rens Thomason takes the effective lead the Grand Prix, if you will. Tech Brawl's in P5 on the road. He's looking to set up a move on rain. Justin decides enough is enough and calls it a day in the other kick Sauber. Tech Brawl all over the back of the Red Bull, and I think you're looking at it, that Red Bull might just have a bit more grip at this moment in time on those medium tyres. I say that there's a massive snap of oversteer through the first sector.
Yeah.
Keep an eye on the gap between the top two as well.
I did say about the transition period being a little bit slower at the moment because you think through the set of S's, if there was that much more grip on the fully soft or the fully dry tyres, they'd have found at least 2 seconds on Joe Murphy. They didn't. They only found about 3 or 4 tenths. And Gabber and Thomason are still fighting with each other because there's now an overtake down the back straight between them two because of the DRS that's enabled, but because they're fighting with each other, they're only going to lose time to Joe Murphy, which is going to allow Joe Murphy to keep extending his intermediate stint for some reason. But he might have to take those intermediates all the way to the end, and if he tries to take them to the end and try and stay within this battle, which is so unlikely, but let's just say he does, they're going to be in puncture territory anyway. So Joe Murphy's going to try his hardest to maintain his lead, but his gap's about 2 seconds, and it will fall by around about 6 or 7 tenths if they work with each other. But at the moment, Gabber and Renz are very happy to keep fighting.
Yeah, they're getting, tense hand over fist now. I think we're going to see a fastest lap. There you go, Renz Thomas at 37.4, despite the battling themselves. And Gabor, here we go, the camera down into the 36. Here comes Rens Thomason up the inside of Gabor into turn number 1. He's got that P2 back, and they are now carving the gap down to Joe Murphy out in front, nearly 1.1 seconds, nearly in half a lap. They've taken a second out of the kick Sauber, and well, if they keep this up, they're going to have DRS over him. Come the main back straight down into turn 12.
Yeah, Quartz has decided to retire as well, so he's one of the 2 drivers alongside Justin who decided to pit so early on as Radidal gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings as well. They're really up the back trumpet now of Joe Murphy. This move is surely going to be done and dusted down here. He's going to have no grip whatsoever, and Joe Murphy, who will feel really done over by the game when it was saying it was time for intermediates, even though the track was completely dry, is now going to get overtaken not once but twice by 2 hard tyre runners. He breaks earlier. He's going to have to try and hold on, but surely he's going to have to pit, take the L and get a set of medium tyres on. Or is he going to take a little bit further and try and go for a set of softs? That wouldn't be the best idea, but surely that may be on the cards.
Yeah, maybe, or stay out and gamble and hope for a safety car. We do have actually a car off in Sector 1, which might help him out a little bit. I think it actually might be Quartz.
That was Quartz's car, yeah. That was Quartz's car who was retired.
So nothing doing there, but yeah, he might have to gamble on a safety car. He stays out once again, that's Joe Murphy, but he's going to be losing time hand over fist, and surely the only way, unfortunately for Joe Murphy, is down yet. Nearly 3.5 seconds he lost on that lap alone to Rens Thomason. Is Gabor looking for a move into turn 1? No, it's lost it behind. It looks like after all the strategical chaos that was provided by the weather, it now looks like Rens Thomason and Gabor have come out the other side the best, and they could be set for a 1v1 dogfight to sort out who will be the race victor here in Kota. Still a long way to go, still over 10 laps to go here at the Circuit of the Americas, and a lot can change. We did have a safety car last time out in Shanghai. We might see it again here in Kota. We might even see rain again, potentially in Kota. We might see a second period of wet weather, which could be why Joe Murphy is staying out. Could be why Tech Brawl is staying out.
Oh, here comes the move then. Gabbard gets the move done and makes the overtake on Rens Thomason down towards the end of the back straight. That move is done as Joe Murphy gets double overtaken once again as Rydell and Rayen still fighting it out here. And I don't think Joe Murphy's going to be giving them too much trouble. He doesn't really want to get into that fight. But Rayen on the alternate strategy here on the medium tyre gets into a slight collision with Rydell. Not too much damage, I don't think. Going through that left-hander where, so we've seen some cracking overtakes throughout this race actually. But Rayen electing to go onto the medium tyre. Now he's got a bit of a longer distance to go here with that medium tyre, obviously, because as a result of pitting a little bit earlier than what he would have done normally. Will the medium tyres go the distance, Leopard? And the next question is, if they do go the distance, how much does he have to look after them and not push them, even despite him he's so desperate to try and do so?
Well, I think the first medium tyre runner I saw come in Tier 4 last night came in around lap 15. So it's only a lap earlier. We have owned up the inside of Joe Murphy into turn number 1. Is it raining again?
It is raining again, you know. I am seeing some... you were right.
Oh,
I was saying... The rain is falling and the virtual safety car is out as a result of a collision that has occurred somewhere in Sector 3. And I think that may have involved potentially Alpha Gully, I'm not too sure, but the virtual safety car has been released and rain is now re-falling on the circuit, and that has now slowed everyone down to 40% of their usual pace behind what is effectively a safety car directly in front. They'll follow a delta, but the rain is now starting to fall. The issue is Tech and Joe Murphy have gone onto a set of intermediate tyres, but they will have burnt through them throughout this entire dry spell, so I'm not entirely sure that the intermediate tyre will go the distance as a result of them deciding to stay out. If, and this is a big if, the track actually gets wet enough for the intermediate tyre anyway, so there's no even argument for that at the moment. We'll have to see. The track conditions are still quite cool out there, so if it does dampen up a little bit, it should dampen up quite quickly. DRS re-enabled as we go green again here in Kota.
Yep, and yeah, you can definitely see there are spots of rain, so it's going to get treacherous for the slick tyre runners. Has the British weather crossed the Atlantic by any chance?
Feels like it.
Did the US just order some British weather just for this Grand Prix? It feels like that's what might have just happened. And yeah, Cameron Downs breezing past Joe Murphy. Still clearly the slick tyres the time to be on, but with that rain falling, Joe Murphy, Tech Brawl will have a little bit of hope that it's gonna fall back in their favour. Quantum decides to bite the bullet early. Is there any wing damage on that car? Well, he's got a technical penalty, so
surely.
I don't think...
No.
Is it going to be retirement or is it...
Well,
we'll see what tyre he puts on.
Well, sorry,
Here comes Ride on Tech Brawl as well, into 1. What tyre is Quantum going on to?
Yeah, he's going on to a set of mediums, so that's very curious actually from Quantum. Forgive me for thinking he was going to come into the pit lane. I'm thinking if you're randomly coming into the pit lane out of nowhere and then you speed into the pit lane, I would assume that just means you're done. So, no, he comes in. Alpha Gully, though, has come into the pit lane and he's on a fresh set of intermediate tyres. So the Williams the Williams team have actually bitten the bullet and gone for it. So, there goes Alpha Gully. Tom Roberts for Mercedes has also moved to a set of intermediate tyres, and we're starting to see mistakes now. Ryder Dahl's made a mistake going into the back straight. As we start to see Rens Thomason make the move and job is done versus these two. DRS is still enabled, by the way, so typically the marker for, yeah, the track conditions are still suitable for the drive, but the rears are starting to lock up pretty aggressively already here, and it's very surprising because it is just a light sprinkle, so I wouldn't have expected for us to have mass deterioration that quickly. We'll have to see, though. We've got 9 laps to go here. Are we going to see another interstint, I wonder?
Oh, Rydell's round! Rydell's round, and it has bitten him. The slicks it's just too wet for the slicks at this moment in time, or maybe not too wet, but it's treacherous and it's bitten Rydell in the middle sector. The rear of that throw just snapped on him, especially on the hard combat tires. He's dancing through the long triple right-hander. Rens Thomason, Gabor, stay out. It's right into the pits. No, he throws a dummy to see if he can bait Owen into the pit lane. Cameron Downs staying out. Rydell, after his little half spin, stays out in P6. Joe Murphy, by the way, it still is a little bit of time, but nowhere near as much. It's borderline neutralising is the gap to the cars ahead of him.
Yeah, the real question is,
Lap
though,
20 and 28.
the real question is, though, is the intermediate tyre actually going to go the distance
Okay.
for Joe Murphy? And if it does,
Yeah.
will he be able to? Will it actually end up activating in enough time for him to be able to make up the time that he's lost during the dry spell? Gabba, 3-second time penalty. That could be big, as Ren Thomason is now the only one in the top 4 without a time penalty. Cameron Dowd, by the way, the man that we've said never ever discourages, only 1.5 seconds back from Owen. He doesn't have a time penalty either. So if he finds a little bit of pace, he could find himself on the podium at the moment, could the Mercedes driver. Going through the left-hander, more drivers decided to go to the intermediates. Epic Fail has decided to match his teammate, go on to the intermediate. Tom Roberts has retired in the pit lane. He doesn't think it is time for intermediates, and he thinks it's a waste of time as Owen gets his move done on Ryan and now moves himself up into the podium positions, into third in what will be a double podium finish for Haas. Oh, it's a big track slapper though, and invites it Ryan right back down the inside line, and that move is done. Oh, switch back though, what a move from Owen in these conditions. Is Ryan going for it? He certainly is. Sector 1 yellow flags wave, that's for the slowing car of Tom Roberts, who's retired, and that move is now done and dusted once again as Ryan is now back up onto the podium.
Yeah, side-by-side action through the middle sector. Owen just got a little bit caught on the curb on the exit of turn number 12. It allowed Rain to potentially more. Rain's into the pit lane. He is going for it. Don't hit the wall, son. Don't hit the wall. That is ever so tight. That was ever so tight. Maybe looked a bit more control than I initially thought. But goodness me, that looked a bit closer. A bit too close for comfort for my liking at the very least. To Owen into P3. After all of that battling, he completely misses turn 1. He'll get a little bit of a good exit, if you will, on that outside line. Cameron Dow's up into P4. Joe Murphy, it's up to 3.7. It's still not quite the quickest tire to be on. It's not quite ready yet, but it's getting there. Slowly but surely, it is getting there. And it's just getting a little bit too treacherous. Cameron Dow's with a big slide in the first sector.
Yeah, no, it's flying. It's really, really, really impressive out there. The drivers are holding on for dear life here at the moment. Cameron Dowd's the only one with the time penalties. Dirk is now retired in the pit lane as well. He's had enough. He thinks he's wasted his race as well. Oh, big tank slapper. Well held from Owen going round that corner. But Cameron Dowd seems to be more in control at the moment on those 8-lap-old hard tyres versus Owen's 7-lap-old mediums. Are the mediums starting to wear out on top of all of the weather conditions that they have to deal with? Here comes Cameron Dowds, then he's going to use the overtake, and he's using DRS as he gets the move done. Oh, it's double tank slappers, and well held from the drivers. It's surely going to be wing damage as they both break far too late for that corner, and Ryderdall says, thank you very much, you idiots, I'm having that one very much, as Owen tries to hold on, but if he's got that wing damage as a result, surely that's going to be done and dusted. They went too hard into a corner that was just too wet, and now they've both paid the price.
Yep, indeed. Cameron Downs went for it up the. Oh, it's been clipped! Oh! It's been clipped by Owen. Maybe a little bit of payback. In fact, I think he almost
DRS disabled!
DRS has been disabled as well. It's kicking off. Joe Murphy's gaining more time. Ryderdall's into the pit lane. Cameron Downs stays out. Owen, of course.
Joe Murphy's in! Joe Murphy is in! Sorry to interrupt. Joe Murphy has come into the pit lane to get off of the intermediate tyres. So he doesn't feel comfortable enough that he could get to the end on these inters. He knows it was a waste of time. He's coming in and he's going to get onto a new set of intermediate tyres and just consolidate what position he can. Fresh intermediates going on the Sauber. We've got plenty of other drivers still electing to stay out though. Hazara has stayed out. Owen, as he comes to the pit lane, he certainly has. Everyone else also diving into the pit lane. Quantum has elected to stay out on a set of medium tyres, but the track is certainly getting very wet out there. I don't think that's a good call. 6 laps to go.
Okay, and before we have a dry period still to come in this race, Jota, can you imagine? So Joe Murphy did just burn out those intermediate tyres, as did Tech Brawl, also to a point where they said, nah, these tyres are not going to make it to the end, or so not make it to the end in any reasonable condition for me to fight with. Come the end of the Grand Prix, I need a fresh set. I've made an error. What is going to happen? Are these front 3 or front 4 going to come in? Rens Thomason's actually gapping NVR Gabor in the Alpine. He's got a little bit more confidence in these slippery conditions, but you can tell there's just very little grip out there on these slick tyres. He's practically drifting, isn't it? It is dancing on ice once again, isn't it? It's
Oh,
like what we saw
wow.
at the end of the instant.
I'm just keeping an eye on Rens Thomason and Gab at the moment. The gap is 22 seconds from Rayen to Rens Thomason at the moment. Is Rens going to be able to hold on? Oh, big tank slappers from both of the drivers as they both drift into the pit lane. Absolutely magnificent driving from the pair of them. Cameron Dowds, is he coming in? He's got to, surely. He's a little bit down on everyone else. Is he staying out? Oh, he's taking the gamble. It's Cameron Dowds is going to go the distance. Hazara, is he going to be coming in? I wonder. We'll have to see. He is coming in. So Cameron Dowds has elected to take the gamble. He thinks he can go the 5 laps on these hard tyres despite it getting wetter and wetter. Rens Thomason will leave the pit lane in second from Gabbo. Will Rayen be able to try and get both of them? He will not. They have missed out ever so slightly. The undercut, weirdly, at Kota has not worked on this particular occasion. So Rayen did a decent job to pit early, but perhaps it was just 1 lap too early. Ryder Dahl and Joe Murphy are the ones that will benefit at least on this particular occasion. Gabba, though, and Rens Thomason are chasing after a very, very slow Cameron Dowds on dry tyres that are looking miserable out there. Quantum retires in the pits.
Yeah, I think Cameron Dowds has made a massive error, and you can see Rens Thomason 3 seconds in sector 1 alone.
Oh, wow.
Cameron Dowds barely keeping the car in a straight line. I think he's made quite the error in not coming in, and it's an unforced.
Nice switchback. Nice switchback from
Gabe.
Gabe. Didn't need to stay. I'm not sure why Cameron Dowds elected to do that. I'll be honest with you. It's not the biggest and the brightest brain from Cameron Dowds on that particular occasion. He's surely not going to go for the back. He is still going to try and race with Rayen, and I'm not entirely sure why, because he's going to have to brake so much earlier, and he's still not going to make the corner versus the likes of Rayen. He's surely going to have to just pit and just consolidate this. It was a bad call from Cameron Dowds to stay out on this occasion. Rens Thomason will lead from Gabba and from Rayen. Rayen's had a really good race, to be fair. He's done a decent job to climb up the rankings to get up to P3, and as I said, discredit him for certain. Joe Murphy will be looking to try and consolidate at least a top 5 finish of what should have been a race victory for him tonight, as Cameron Dowds now relegates himself down to 5th place, and surely a set of intermediates are now waiting for him at the Mercedes garage.
Yeah, you'd have to think so. Surely he's not going to do any more damage by staying out another lap. Surely he's going to be in. Oh my goodness me, he's staying out. Okay, right. I don't know what the plan is really here at Mercedes for Cameron Dowds. Joe Murphy breezes on by. There's just surely there's just no grip on those hard compound tyres. Surely, he's going to still try and fight Joe Murphy, but he's just got to brake so much earlier. I mean, he forced Joe Murphy a little bit wide, but he's just got no grip. I don't know why he's not in. I don't know why he didn't come in earlier.
He's going to lose more time out here doing what he's doing right now than he would be if he just pits and gets on an intermediate tyre. That's just the fundamentals, right? Down to 7th place, and will soon be 8th, 9th and 10th actually before the end of this first sector. I'm going to call it right now, as Tech is just flying around the set of S's, and the Mercedes is just basically a walking roadblock. If he's any slower, the FIA are basically going to have to step in and say, unfortunately, you're an illegal car because you're changing the structure of the circuit as a rolling roadblock. This circuit is no longer an FIA Grade 1 circuit because you've changed the fundamentals of how this circuit is going. Here he comes then, does Tech. I did say it'd be the end of the first sector. Oh, just missed it on that occasion. Tech gets the move done on Cameron Dowds, and that is now down to 8th place, as he will certainly be out of the points by the end of this lap. That's almost a given, and I think he's going to be right at the back, except for Bell Belby, who, if credit to him, is staying out there despite being 55 seconds back from Rappy.
Yeah, I said in Shanghai last week, this championship will be won on consistency. And the thing is, Cameron Dowds, he had a podium last week in Shanghai, and he would have been on for certainly at the very least the top 5 if he had just come into the pit lane. But instead, as he tries, it's just not going his way. It's Cameron Dowds, and it's just one of those things. It's a poor decision, and a decision he didn't need to make. If he'd come in, it's almost stayed out and almost tried to gamble when he just didn't need to. In the context of the championship as well, he didn't need to gamble. He just needs, these first few races of the season, it's all about, picking up points and putting yourself in a position to then say, right, now this is when I take risks. Now this is when I drop the hammer. Especially in a season like this. Look at last season. It was so up and down, so inconsistent. That could have been anyone's game. And if there was just a bit more consistency throughout the races, that champion could have been very different. And in the and it's a decision like that Cameron, if Cameron Dowds again doesn't pick up the championship this season, it'll be a decision like this they'll just have to look back on come the end of the season.
And that's a fair point, actually, because if you look at it from another person's perspective here, if outside he ends up missing out on this championship by 10, 15 points, he'll be looking at this race and thinking, Oh, why did I make that decision? Because it's completely ruined my prospects in this WOR season, to say the least. 3 laps to go in this race, by the way, as Cameron Dow's now finally leaving the pit lane on a fresh set of intermediate tyres. He ain't going to get the fastest lap, of course, as the track is getting wetter and wetter with that rain now falling. A real topsy-turvy race, similar to that of what we saw in China last week. The same thing will happen again later down the line, I'm sure, in the other various races that WOR has got. We're looking forward to that particular set of events as it goes through the left-hander, though. Rens Thomason, that is then, this is now. We've got to finish this race off, and at the moment, Rens certainly the favourite for this one. Nearly 3 seconds, actually, in front of Gabba, without a time penalty to his name, unlike the back 3. Joe Murphy, on the other hand, 5 seconds back from Ryderdal. If he can at least find a couple of seconds, he might at least be able to consolidate a top 4 after what, again, should have really been a race victory for the fake Venezuelan.
Yeah, might be able to have a podium here if he finds a little bit more than just a couple seconds. Yeah, if he can find it, you know, obviously it's 1.8 to Ryderdal. That's what he needs to get. If he finds another half a second, 3/4 of a second, he'll have rain as well for a podium, which will actually be quite a recovery considering the clangor of a strategy decision he pulled by going on to those intermediates. Obviously, in hindsight, we know what was coming. A nice idea, if you will. An idea certainly worth giving a go. To an extent, especially knowing how the Inters can perform. They don't certainly fully drop, it seems, on this game, and he was able to stay in touch a little bit. I guess what I'm trying to say, there was logic behind it, especially as you'd have probably known. Whilst there may be a dry period on the way, there's going to be another wet one. It might just be worth chucking on another set of Inters. In the end, it just does a little bit too long on the slicks, and in the end, it was the slick tyre that he wanted to be on for that midpoint in the race, even if it was just for those few laps. Rens Thomason, by the way, cracking drive out in front.
Yeah, really, really good drive from Rens, actually. It's been a thoroughly enjoyable drive, to say the least. Just going to call out Ryan a little bit on that one. Down the main straight, loads of weaving down the back straight here as he's trying to break the toe off Ryderdal. Might have a bit of a shooting inquiry if Ryderdal decides he wants to play politics with that particular move, to say the least. That might end up inviting Joe Murphy into P4 anyway. We'll have to say he's 4.2 seconds back, by the way, so he's not finding the time that he did versus everyone else at the moment. So I think he is just trying to consolidate P5 as it stands. He's got no one really around him either. Ryan up in 6th place. Good race from Ryan, actually, in this one as well, as we start the penultimate lap of this race. Ryderdal's still trying to race here with Rayen, then down into turn 1. Is going to try and get the corner there, but unfortunately not able to find a move, as it's very well defended from Rayen, a driver of such a high calibre this season as well. It's been fabulous to watch in Legacy, and he's been certainly a fabulous driver to watch outside of the team events as well. Going through the set of S's, better taken actually from the ETA. Ryderdal in the Ferrari, trying to keep as close as he possibly can, as the Red Bull losing the rear ever so slightly, not finding the confidence. Ryderdal's looking for it. Here he comes. Then DRS is not enabled, and this now, of course, with the rain now falling, so it is all going to be about pure pace down that outside line. Ryderdal's going to have to go. He'll have to do the switchback. The space is there. The question is he going to have the toe available? He's using overtake, and he's definitely going to have the toe. He's definitely squeezed off the circuit as Rayen is defending like a lion. He's saying, no, that's my inside. You're going to have to go around the outside, my friend. Here he comes then. Will he go around the outside? Is it going to be the late break? And they both match each other through here. Switchback opportunity for Ryderdal. The gap is there. Here he comes then. He's going to have the space. Is he going to go around the outside? No, he tucks him behind once again on this occasion. Ryderdal, is he going to go for the move down the inside? He's surely there. He's left the door open as Rayen, and that move is surely going to be done and dusted. The Ferrari's up to 3rd.
Yeah, clean as well. Clean move from Ryderdal to get up onto the podium for the time being. Rens Thomason, by the way, he'll cross the line right about now. 5-second gap out in front, no penalties. He starts the last lap here in Kota, but all eyes are going to be on Ryderdal and Rain, and potentially Joe Murphy as well, by the way. That gap's down to 3 seconds. If he finds another half a second to 3/4 of a second, it might be Joe Murphy on the podium if he doesn't pick up a penalty on this final lap. So then, Ryderdal currently holds on to P3 for the time being, and it looks to be gapping Rain out in front throughout the second half of that last lap, in the first half of this lap. Just got a bit more confidence, bit more grip in that Ferrari, as Rain, he's dancing through the first sector in the wet conditions. Joe Murphy really is gaining. He actually already has Rain 2.7 to the Red Bull out in front, so we'll keep an eye on that gap
very close
throughout the second half of this final lap.
Yeah, no, it's
Anything else
very,
going on? No, there isn't.
it's very, very close indeed. Joe Murphy now 2.6 will have Ryan for P4 at the start finishing line at the end of this lap, but it is all going to be about whether he can also keep the gap on Ryderdal as well. The gap is 3.6, so there's 6/10 a buffer for Ryderdal, and then Joe Murphy might at least get a podium after this one as well. But we have to go back over to the Haas of Rens Thomason. What a race it has been actually from Rens Thomason. He's raced really well throughout this particular race as well, holding his own from third all the way up to P1. He'll be so happy with this performance. He's kept it clean, he's kept it nice and cool, nice and easy. He's then drifting around the final couple of corners. He tries to find some fun with that checkered flag waving in the rain. Rens Thomason wins the Texas Grand Prix here tonight in Tier 1 of the Console WOR League. Here comes Gabba, who finishes in a very respectable second place. Ryderdal and Rayan finishing in third and fourth. Joe Murphy will gain P4. Will he gain P3? No, he just misses out in the end on that one, as then NLR Ryan, 4.5 it was in the end as well. Ryan will finish in a very respectable P6 with Tech just missing out in 7th, with Hazara in 8th. Allison will finish in 9th, and Owen will round out the top 10, but he will lose out on P10 to this man, Shazoo's Alpha Gully. As a result of the 6 seconds, Owen will lose 11th, and he may even lose 12th as well, as Rappy comes across the line, and Owen will finish in 12th, and then it's about a consolidation of thoughts and feelings for this man, Cameron Dowds, a man who we see so little of when it comes to mistakes. He's a driver who just holds his caliber, holds it cool, nice and easy. But the Mercedes has had an absolute stinker tonight, and he will finish down in P13 with Bell Belby, who has had a race to forget as well, down in 14th. At least, though, he's finished, unlike the 6 drivers behind, who have all either DNF'd on their own accord or crashed out. I think they've all DNF'd on their own accord, actually, so fair play to Bell Belby, who will at least get a race finish on the board in the end. Then as we watch Bell finish in Leopard, in the end, what a mixed bag of a race that one. We are so unpredictable.
Yeah, I don't think I've actually commentated a race like it. It's very rare on, on the Codemasters F1 games, or now the EA F1 games, where you see a wet, dry, wet race. Usually, once it's gone wet to dry, it'll stay dry, or vice versa, but it rarely goes back to the other condition oh so soon. But Rens Thomason was the man to hold his nerve and did the best job in the conditions. Played it perfectly, came in at the right times, had enough confidence, had enough grip, had enough sense in the wet conditions, in the tricky conditions, and took a well-deserved and dominant victory in the end, which you don't often see in league racing these days.
Yeah, you don't. Absolutely, you're absolutely right on that one. Yeah, great race though, nonetheless, a thoroughly enjoyable race, to say the least, as this one as well. You may be wondering if we're going to see any interviews tonight. Unfortunately, we're not going to have any interviews tonight, because I think the drivers also need a rest. We also need a rest as well. It is getting quite late here tonight. So what we'll do is we'll see this podium ceremony and just enjoy what has been a fabulous race for the man, the myth, the legend that is Rens Thomason. What a performance indeed from the Haas man, who takes the top amount of points and the top step of the podium in this race as well. We'll take a very quick look then at those final standings. They're very much provisional, of course, with the fastest lap going to Allison in the end, down in P9. Rens Thomason wins from Gabba, from Ryderdal, from Joe Murphy, Ryan, Tech, Hazara, Allison, Alpha Gully, Rappy, and then Cameron Dow's, Bell Belby, and Owen. I think Owen finished in P13 but retired from the race afterwards, so he will finish in 13th place. There are your DNFs: Quantum, Epic Vale, Dirk, Tom Roberts, Quartz, and Justin, all also electing to retire from this race after making a little bit of a mixed bag and a mixed effort with their strategy, making the mistake and electing to decide, nah, this is not for me. That is one hell of a race. I mean, how are we going to wrap this one up then in the end? You've got to look at it from a multitude of different angles. We've had much unpredicted weather. No one was able to really guess exactly what was going on. And to be fair, I think you're right in your initial analysis. I've never seen anything like that before. I've seen mixed bags, but never, the flitting. It's another level, flitting between the dries and the wets, and not entirely sure where that transition period is. It was a really, real mixed bag.
Yeah, a horrible one for a driver. Any driver, that has been 28 laps of hell that you've just gone through, because it is not nice. Because the processing power you need in your brain is, you need so much more to figure out what's going on, to try and understand the grip levels and think, okay, is it time to move? Should I stick or should I twist? And so difficult. Or in the way they went back and forth like they did. It's hats off to those that kept it. Kept their heads on most of all, and kept their cars on the road, because that is really impressive stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great effort, and you've got to give some real credit to the drivers out there in trying to understand exactly what to expect, because the bottom line of it is that you don't really know what to expect when you're sort of pushing at your absolute limit at a circuit that is literally different in every single lap that you try to do a lap in. You can't predict it, can you? So fair play to the team. They've done a really good effort to try and get there, and they should be really proud of themselves on that one. Very quickly gives us a last minute opportunity to take a quick look at what we've got coming up over in the rest of this season. Of course, a big effort indeed for the calendar. We've obviously taken our trip to what has been a really big spag. In fact, I think we've got the season 18 calendar up here, which is very peculiar, to say the least, actually. We've got the season 18 one. We do. Very unusual, I think, on that one. Just trying to figure this one out. Yeah, we do, for some reason. So what we'll do is ignore all of that and just say that we're going to be in for an absolute blinder.
I mean, I have the season 19 calendar.
Yeah, if you fancy showing us that. Yeah, fancy telling us that one.
So, obviously, as far as consoles concerned, that is that for Texas this week. So next week we'll be off to the Marina Bay Street Circuit in Singapore. So we have some street racing action, some night racing action, and following that we'll also have Las Vegas on the way in console tier 1, or throughout all of WR console. So we've got that to look forward to in the coming weeks. I'll just have a brief look and see what's coming up in Legacy Division. Where are we in Legacy Division, Jota? Do you know?
Well, in Legacy Division, we've just had an absolute blinder of a season so far. We've actually just finished our first week break, and we had an absolute scorcher of a race there. So it's actually the second race in the second row, I think, is what it is for me. I'm just trying to get everything set up here. As you can imagine, folks, with me being last minute, I've literally just tried to grab everything out of Wim, and for some reason I've downloaded all of the season 18 stuff. Can you believe?
Yeah. So from what I can see, it looks like China on the way in Legacy Division next week.
That sounds right. Yeah, China. Let's go there instead. If it's anything like what we had in console tier 1 last week, it should be an absolute corker when we've got the drivers fighting for their teams as opposed to for themselves. So that should make for an absolute blinder, to say the least, in this one. I am trying to get the calendar up at the moment, but for some reason everything is just now completely broken. So I might have to just leave you with our sponsors on this one here, and I think it is actually about to die. Are we getting there? Yeah, we've got all season 18 calendars in the season 19 folder as well, so I don't know what's going on. We'll figure that one out. Nonetheless, it is an absolute cracker. It's been an absolute blinder to be in the tier 1 seat as well. That's such a last minute call as well. Big thanks to Luke for the opportunity. Big thanks to yourself as well, Leopard, for an absolute blinder of a race and the blinder of commentary as well. I don't know what's happening next week, whether we're going to have your usual commentators line up or whether I'm back, I'm not sure. We'll have to see. But nonetheless, It's been an absolute blinder. Thank you very much for your time, folks. We'll see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye for now.